All right, thank you, Sean, and thank you to Reed Corporate for allowing us the opportunity to speak again. This is only our first time here at Gold Coast. We spoke for the first time at Gather Round in April when we jumped 57% on the back of, well, I say my presentation, but we actually put out some good results that day. But I'm sticking to my story. All right. There we go. Sorry. There we are. So who are we? So look, we're fairly new in this area and got a great story because getting hold of tenure around this area is really, really difficult. And we've been fortunate enough to get ourselves not just one, but two highly prospective projects. As Sean just mentioned, this is a really booming area. We're surrounded by, multiple big players in the area, and we're looking to be the next, really significant discovery. We have got around about 300 square kilometres of tenure in this area, but we've sort of got a really bit of a perfect storm. Obviously, gold prices where they are, but we're in the right district. Both of our projects have got significant historical high-grade production. And essentially haven't been explored since, have very limited and minimal exploration since. And so we're effectively a first mover on this tenure. And as I said, we've already started a significant 10,000 metre drilling program, which we've actually already passed 10,000 metres. We're sort of about 12,000 metres already, but we plan to keep drilling through to December. Quick snapshot, look, we're only a junior explorer, so look, we're only a 35 million market cap at the moment, so we think there's a really exciting opportunity here, and we obviously just did a $5 million capital raise to help fund drilling, which was substantially oversubscribed. We've got a number of instos involved in that. They're obviously really excited and see the opportunity that lies in front of us, and we've got a really, really strong board, and we've just who have been involved in multiple very successful gold companies and operations, and Steve Vallance has just joined us as the technical director who's heading up all our exploration. So where are our projects? As you can see from the map, we're surrounded by elephants, and we're chasing the next elephant in the area. Look, there's multiple multi-million ounce mines around us, and we're looking to hopefully discover the next one. As I said, we're the first mover in the area, and you can see by some of the numbers up there, both these projects have had significant historical production. Kakaini, the Cosmopolitan Gold Mine, produced 331,000 ounces, around 15 grams a tonne. That stopped in 1922, around the First War, and there's effectively been nothing done on it since. And you can see there, Yundamindra produced around 45,000 ounces, around 19 grams a tonne. Once again, has had limited exploration since. So both of these projects are significantly underexplored, and we think there's real opportunity here for a real significant discovery, and that's where we see the real value opportunity. If I just jump to firstly our Yundamindra project, which has sort of been the focus of the last 6 months in particular. So Yundamindra is sort of a bit of a forgotten story. You can actually see here a picture of Batosi gold mine, which actually was the biggest producing prospect on Yundamindra in the time. This prospect has had 6 drill holes done in it since it stopped production. Those 6 drill holes are all less than 50 metres, so they weren't actually even into the fresh rock. So what we're actually seeing is real opportunity, because on this project there's a number of historical prospects. And they were the old timers were just basically chasing when they saw outcrop. That's where they started mining with pick and shovel. Went down to they either hit fresh rock or had water issues and stopped and moved on. And there's multiple prospects all over this tenure, and just hasn't been effectively followed up with modern exploration. There's 2 prospects in particular, Pennyweight Point and Land at Last, where most of the focus has been done in the past. By sort of drilling by Sons of Gwalia and Saracens in the 80s and 90s, but they were chasing high-grade oxide resource, and at $300 an ounce, they obviously didn't meet their metrics at the time, and they moved on, albeit they hit some fantastic intersections. So they've just never really followed up. If I just jump to the actual projects now, we call it the Yundamindra Syncline, but we've got a sort of an eastern corridor and a western corridor and a sort of a southern central, what we're calling a complex nose of this thing. Look, we've done a lot of background before we've started drilling. We've done a lot of background work to really focus in on the sort of geophysics and geochem to get as much information as we can to really hit the high priority targets. You can see the little red dots on the image there. They're the old historical prospects, and just two of those, you can see Pennyweight Point land at last in there. That's where largely everything's been focused on. But we've identified over 25 kilometres of structures already. The southern area, we haven't really done any work on as yet. We've just completed drone mag on it, so that will produce a heap more targets. But we've already got over 50 high priority targets that we're working through, and that will produce a lot more once we do that southern area. But you can actually see the structures there. There's multiple parallel structures on the eastern and western side, and they're coming in from different directions. And there's actually cross-cutting structures, which we're actually finding are highly mineralised as well. So this is a really complex area, really exciting area. We're hitting really great gold numbers from the limited drilling we've done so far. So really we're just chasing the source of this thing now. Where's the centre of gravity? We've got so many targets, there's so much smoke over this whole project, and the whole area has been worked over with historical prospectors and dry blowing and whatnot. So we know there's gold there. It's just a matter of chasing the source of it and how much is there. This is a bit of a highlight of one of the prospects. This is on the eastern side. We're focused on the eastern side at the moment. The Pennyweight Point prospect. And you can see the little area in blue there. That's the extent of our drilling to date. We've already defined some mineralisation over around 300 metres to a depth of around 200 metres, open in both directions, just limited by our drilling. But you can see there by the soil geochem, the red and yellow is obviously lighting up that this is part of a significant system. And Pennyweight Point, you can see there, sits on a 4.5 kilometre structure, and there's parallel structures to that, which some of the other prospects all sit on. And we just go work through and test all those prospects. So the Pennyweight Point, here's a sort of a bit of a cross-section of Pennyweight Point. As you can see, it's defined down to around 200 metres at the moment. These drill results are our drilling results, and this is into the fresh rock. The two diamond holes, they're the results were released when I did this presentation in April. They're the deepest holes that have been drilled at this prospect. Appears to be thickening at depth. Thick 30 odd metres, 2.5 grams a tonne, and we're still chasing the source of this thing. So really exciting project, and as you saw from the soils, it's lit up to the north and south, and we're just sort of working our way through drilling the extensions of this at depth and along strike. If I then move over to the western corridor, we've named this the Yellow Brick Road. There's already a 10 kilometre corridor within this 16 kilometre western corridor. 10 kilometres of that we know has got historical prospects and mineralisation. You can see all those little prospects listed there. This is, once again, really exciting prospect. When we actually started working through the historical data and the drilling that had been done, it looked like this project had been drilled. Obviously, two of the key prospects, it looked like it had been significantly drilled, but when we actually worked through the data and the drilling, we actually found that 97% of historical drilling was 50 metres or less. So no one actually drilled into the fresh rock, and this will be highlighted further on the next slide. But what we're actually, similarly on this western flank, we're actually seeing significant high-grade mineralisation. There's multiple cross-cutting structures as well, and parallel structures. And once again, we're still really chasing the source of the mineralisation. Where is this? Where is the central area? This probably highlights it. Now, this is a sort of a longitudinal projection, but these prospects you can see are actually, they're all on different structures. So you can see that orange-red line running through there. That's the 50-metre mark. So anything below 50 metres is essentially what we've done in our current and last campaign, and everything above 50 metres is all the historical drilling, which is just all into the weather material. So you can just see the opportunity there. In between all these prospects, there's essentially been no drilling. So when it's gone undercover, no one's ever followed up and chased it. And as we're finding, we're actually seeing significant mineralisation undercover. Similarly, this is just a quick snapshot of Arika's drilling results. Like I say, we only started drilling this in the last 12 months. Our drilling was the first drilling in over 20 years on this project. And you see some of the intersections there. They're really exciting, but we're only just scratching the surface of what we're doing at Yundamindra. So it's hard not to get excited by what we're seeing. There's significant smoke here, but we're actually just taking a really methodical, systematic approach to our exploration and just working through it, prioritising targets and building what hopefully will be the next significant discovery in the area. But then jump over to our Kokaini project. Now, our Kokaini project is probably 12 months behind our Yundamindra project. We're working hard to advance that. We want to bring both these projects along at the same time. But the Kokaini project is equally as exciting as the Yundamindra project. As I said earlier, significant historical high-grade production out of these systems, but they've certainly had limited or no modern exploration since. And everyone who's gone back there has generally just gone back to where the old timers or had drilled previously, or the old prospectors had been. But Cosmopolitan Gold Mine, for example, has only had a limited number of holes. No one's actually really gone and drilled it and tested it at depth or extension. So we're actually pulling it apart, remodelling it, and we'll be putting something out shortly and going in and start to drill at extensions at depth and along strike. We're hopeful that it might be like a Bellevue type situation. We're really excited by what potentially might be there. It's amazing to think that this stopped 100 years ago and no one's actually gone and given due attention to it. Our Kokaini project, as you can see, is we've sort of got the extensions and surrounded by Genesis, who we know have been watching what we've been doing pretty closely. Look, Genesis, obviously, their Ulysses project, really significant, 2.2 million ounces there. We've got the extensions to that. We just acquired the central area that's in the slightly brighter yellow. We just announced we acquired that about 3 weeks ago. And that obviously adjoins our northern with some of our southern tenure. So we've got approximately 150 square kilometres of tenure here. Once again, significant historical prospects, limited to no drilling on this, and we've just started drilling down there last week. So we've done a few holes there, and we're going to be alternating the drill rig between Yundamindra and Kokaini. We want to bring them both along at the same time, and we'll look to bring a second rig in as well to really start to advance this. We've actually done some drilling at Kokaini already. Here's some of our hits at our McTavish, Leopold and Champion prospects, which remain open at depth and along strike. Once again, we're hitting really great intersections, thick, good grade intersections. Once again, it just needs more drilling. As Simon Lawson always said, drill, drill, drill. And that's what we're doing. We've been drilling for 2.5 months. We plan to continue drilling right through to Christmas at least, and really expand on what we're doing. So just to wrap up, the real investment opportunity here is, look, we're a junior market cap, we're only a 40 mil market cap, but we've got two really exciting projects. Significant gold mineralisation on both of them, limited exploration, modern exploration, high grade historical production. So we know there's significant high grade gold there, and it's just exciting ride the next 6 to 12 months. We're just going to be just drilling this thing, and we're really excited that we think we might have the next major discovery in the area. Thank you very much.